Hello and welcome. We're going to be talking about human trafficking in the Bible. Are you aware that human trafficking was recorded first in the Bible in the book of Genesis, chapter 37? Yeah, let me pull up my notes here. Mm. So when we look at Genesis chapter 37 and verses our emphasis is going to be on verses 28 and verses 36. But before we go into that, I want to welcome you to my live broadcast today. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me also print this page. And I want to open the So if you have the Bible app on your phone, I hope that you can look at your phone along with me. You can look at the Bible verse along with me as I'm trying to do this broadcast. So welcome. My name is Bukola Oriola. I am a subject matter expert, lived experience, and I advocate for individuals who have experienced human trafficking and domestic violence. Today, we are going to be talking briefly about human trafficking 101. And this one is also going to focus on Bible. For those of you who are Bible lovers, those of you who are Christians, people of faith, I invite you to join the conversation because I do know that there are many people of faith who fight against human trafficking around the world. So I welcome you to this broadcast today to talk about human trafficking in biblical terms or using the Bible lens to look at it. I want to hear from you. You can put your comment in the chat. What do you know about human trafficking? Let me even put a question. What do you know about human trafficking? I want to hear from you. What do you know about human trafficking? So I want to hear from you. What do you know about human trafficking? And if you don't know anything about human trafficking, that's fine. That's why I'm doing this broadcast to give you a little bit of information about what human trafficking is. Human trafficking is broad, but today specifically, I'm looking at it from the biblical lens because it's interesting that human trafficking was first recorded in the Bible in the book of Genesis. And it's Genesis chapter 37 when we look at verses 28 and verse 28 and verses 36. But first of all, what is human trafficking? For the layman to understand, human trafficking is basically selling somebody for another person's economic gain. So someone is profiting from another human being by selling them, exchanging them for sex or for labor. So meaning that somebody is working, another person is profiting from it, or somebody is performing sexual acts, another person is profiting from it. So human trafficking basically is about the sale of human beings in simple terms to put it. And It can look different in many settings, but it's the same thing. I'm going to be focusing on labor trafficking and sex trafficking. Someone, according to the federal definition in the US, you have to prove fraud, force, or coercion. I think even at the United Nations level, you also have to prove fraud, force, or coercion for human trafficking to occur. However, if the individual who is being trafficked is under the age of 18, then you don't need to prove fraud, force, or coercion to determine that the person has experienced human trafficking, either sex or labor no, only for sex trafficking. But for labor trafficking, the individual still have to prove fraud, force, or coercion, whether they are under the age of 18 or above the age of 18. But in the state of Minnesota, where I am located, the law is different. When it comes to human trafficking laws in the United States, it can vary from state to state. In the state of Minnesota, you do not have to prove fraud, force, or coercion to determine that you have experienced trafficking, either you are a minor or an adult, if it's sex trafficking. But if it's labor trafficking, you still have to prove fraud, force, or coercion. Fraud is when you are deceived. For example, somebody promises you a better life, they promise you a job, they promise you a marriage, they promise you something, but then we get there, you find out it's something completely different. So we've seen situations where somebody is promised a job, they go to the job, but then they find out that it was all lies. It's not the job that they were promised that they were doing, or somebody got them the job and then the person is profiting off of them by making them to work and taking all their revenue. Another is the um fraud. So, okay, I think that's fraud right there that I just explained. So another is a false. False is somebody, a lot of people talk about abduction or kidnapping, that could fall under false. Also, beating to make the person comply, that could also be under false. And then the other one is coercion. Coercion basically is threatening you with blackmailing, like, oh, if you don't comply, I'm going to do this to you, or do this to your family, or I'm going to tell people about this secret about you, or expose you to experience shame in your community and not be able to come out to talk. So, those are some of those ways that someone can become a victim of labor or sex trafficking. And this can happen to anybody, regardless of who. It can happen to children, it can happen to adults. Statistics show that more women and children are prone to becoming, are more vulnerable to becoming victims of human trafficking. There are also men who are victims of human trafficking around the world. So I'm hoping that this will educate you on, and those who need help can reach out for help because there is help available. Our organization at the Anytime Story, we help individuals who have experienced human trafficking and domestic violence. So please, you can reach out to that organization, and I will put the organization here. You can check them out at anytime.org. Benetton.org. So, as a non-profit organization, if you know someone who needs help, please reach out through that organization for help. Or if you need help for yourself, reach out through the organization for help. If you are looking for training, you want someone to train your community or your organization, please also reach out through that organization for help. So moving on to now talk about, let's get into the Bible. So in the Bible, we have in the book of Genesis, chapter 37. So what I'm going to do first is that I'm going to try to read the whole chapter. There are 30, I think there are 36 chapters. Yes, there are 36 chapters, and I'm going to read the whole 36 chapters. And then we talk about, you know, the labor trafficking that happened, or you guys might catch it already as I'm reading. So, Genesis 37, and I'm reading the King James Version. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph being 17 years old. See, Joseph was even a minor at the time, 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren. And the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him coats of many colors. So we pause there. So how many of you have kids and then you like the last child more than the rest of the kids? Uh we see where in many families the last borns, they are kind of like the sport brats, we say, because they enjoy kind of like more favor from the parents because they the last born. And sometimes if the parents had them when they're older, they kind of have this more affection from their parents. So, and when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him. Sibling rivalry. Can you see that? And could not speak peaceably unto him. They're always mad at him because they feel that their father likes him more. So perhaps he gets away with a lot of things that others will not get away with. He will get away with it. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaf stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. So, sometimes can happen where the people that are supposed to be your friends, that are your closest people, like family members, yet when you share your dream with them, they don't accept you, they don't agree with you, rather they hate you. And that's what's going on here. And he still have more dreams. Now I'm in verse 9. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it to his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father. And his brethren and his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee in the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said unto Joseph, Do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem? Come, and I will send thee unto them. And he said to him, Here am I. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They are departed hence. For I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit, and we will say, Some evil beast had devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. Oh no. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. That's the firstborn, trying to see ways to save him. Firstborns, God bless firstborns. The firstborn was like, okay, guys, calm down. Let's not kill him. Let's just put him in the pit. And he was trying to find a way to just make them not hurt him so he can bring him back to their father. And it came to pass when Joseph was come unto his brethren that they stripped Joseph of his coat of many colors that was on him. And they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread. And they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, What profit is it that we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. So you see, he said, Let us sell him to our brother. And this is also another thing I want to point out. If first human trafficking recorded in the Bible was also familial trafficking, because this is Joseph's family members who are selling him. And then in 28, it now says, Then there passed by Midianites merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and sold Joseph to the Ishmaelite for 20 pieces of silver. And they brought Joseph into Egypt. So we see selling of human being. That was Joseph being sold to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. So, who is benefiting? His siblings were the ones benefiting from selling him into slavery. So, that is trafficking, selling another human being for profit. They sold him for profit. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes, meaning he was sad when he didn't see him there because he wasn't expecting that he will not be there. And he returned unto his brethren and said, This child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat and killed a kid of the goats, and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father, and said, This have we found. Now, know now whether it be thy son's coat or not, or no. And he knew it and said, It is my son's coat, and evil beasts had devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Joseph rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his loins and mourned for his son many days. That's so sad. You know, he was grieved thinking that his son was dead. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, For I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and, and captain of the guard. So what happened in this chapter? Joseph was sold twice. That's trafficking. And that's the thing, like when it comes to other kind of trafficking, like drug trafficking, once you sell the drug and the person uses it, it's gone. But when it comes to a human being, you can sell one human being over and over again. And we see that here in this chapter of the Bible, where Joseph was not only sold one time, he was sold twice. And the first selling was by his own family, and that's called familiar trafficking. So For those of you who don't know, familiar trafficking is a form of trafficking where the trafficking happen within the family, meaning that a family member is the one profiting from exploiting another person in that family for economic gain. So in this case, is familiar trafficking that happened here. So we can see that human trafficking happened, but the very first recorded was not just human trafficking happening, but it was also familiar trafficking happening, where a family member was sold to strangers, merchants, though Ishmaelite merchants, you know, they sold him. They sold him to the Midianites and no, to the, yeah, they sold him to the Midianites, and then the Midianites, so they sold him to the Ishmaelites actually, and then the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar. So we see there that basically Joseph experienced being sold twice, and the first time he was sold was by his own family member. So human trafficking can happen in the family. We want you to pay attention to that. If you know someone or experiencing similar thing, you can reach out to help because help is available. Nobody needs to be sold into trafficking. Nobody should be experiencing any kind of trafficking at all because it's an abuse of the human being to be selling a human being for profit, any kind of profit. So I hope that you reach out for help. And for those of you who want to learn more about this, you can continue to follow me on this channel. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. If you have a question or a comment, please put your question in the comment section. Ask your question or write your comment. Like the question I asked you, what do you know about trafficking? Do you know anything about trafficking? Is this the first time you are hearing about it or you are learning a little bit more about it? What do you know about human trafficking? We'll be talking more next time about human trafficking. This channel, my channel, focuses on advocacy, business, survival, and women empowerment. And also, I make skincare, handmade skincare product with herbal extract. You can check out some of those videos on this channel. I hope to, and sometimes you will see me post random picture of me cooking or a food. So I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Bye bye. Oh, and by the way, these are some of my skincare products. This is the herbal, that's my old logo there. Oh, this is the herbal moisturizer, herbal body moisturizer. And I think a video was released on the channel today about the process of making that. And this is the herbal hair whip. There's going to be a video that is coming up tomorrow on the herbal hair oil. I also kind of showed the herbal hair whip briefly there, that you can combine the herbal hair oil with the herbal hair whip. Thank you again. Bye bye.